Welcome back, everybody. This is episode 2, part 3 of the Mouse Guard. It's been pretty cute so far. So, cuteness aside, it's time to carry on with the mission. So you have to get to Spruce Tuck, where you'll be able to meet with one of the Mouse Guard's science mice. That's what they're called. They're literally called science mice. And obtain some additional fluid for the scent border, and then you can carry on with your secret mission out into the wilderness. So, to get from Elmos to Spruce Tuck, it's just a simple journey. It's a milk run from here to here. So, someone will need to lead the way, and then we'll roll. So, who's our Pathfinder? Anybody want to
It
volunteer?
didn't work out so great when I did it.
Well, yeah. So I guess let's play it out. So what does that look like? So you've all gathered your equipment. You're ready to set back out. Walmond and Jasper, you still have a tiredness that just won't go. Like you slept, but it won't. You can't shake that sense. It's like a deep tired that's like in your bones. And so you have this journey ahead of you. What do you all do? You're standing there. It's like clear, but still like drizzly. The majority of the storm has passed in the night, but there's still definitely the like rain, and there's a chance of the storm returning. So.
Can I use Weather Watcher to like gain any definitive insight on the weather situation?
Yes.
Yeah, so Weather Watcher is a cool skill. You can do some neat stuff with it. Let me get to it and I'll describe it for you, because it works in a way that no other skill does. So, use of the skill in this game is very powerful. The Weather Watcher may test to determine the weather. If he's successful, he gets to determine the weather for the next leg of the journey. So, you make a versus test against the weather. And if you win, you just tell me how the next leg of the journey is going to be weather-wise. If I win, I tell you. So I'm going to roll. It's spring. I'm going to roll 6 dice.
Yeah, because spring is really unpredictable, right? It's the second hardest.
Spring is the second hardest, yeah. Winter is 7, spring is 6, summer is 4, fall is 5. So you're going to roll. Maybe this is the thing where you're like, you get out there and there's this sort of like tension in the air. And we pan over to Woolman, who's like sniffing the air and like looking around. So what's your Weather Watcher skill?
2.
Okay. All right. So hopefully I will roll poorly. You can also get help, just like you normally would. If you have traits, you can activate them to gain benefits.
Or bring your nature in, like I did with my healer test, and get hella dice.
So using a level 1 trait will give you a 1 die bonus. You can also spend Persona, to get your nature to get tapped in there, so that's useful. And then you can always reroll 6s. So what would you like to do to build up your pool?
Wait, what can I do with nature?
So if do you have a Persona point? Should be like
yes,
top right. Okay, you can spend that Persona point to add your entire nature to the pool. So your nature is 5. Hot damn. So Walmond, you get 5 extra dice.
Okay, I want to do that.
Okay, so it will detecting the nature or the weather is not a mouse ability, so it's gonna strain your it'll tax your nature, so your nature drops to 4.
Okay.
But spend that Persona point, you have 7 dice now, so we're on slightly more even footing. Do you have any traits that you want to activate?
Inquisitive? Is that relevant here?
Yeah, absolutely. You're like, no, hold on. I'm curious about this thing. Let me inquisit about the weather. Yeah, you can use that to get an extra die.
Awesome.
Okay, so Mark,
Your nature is reduced to 4 out of 5, so like it can bounce back up to 5 later. It's not permanently reduced.
Yeah. I like how, so this is built into Burning Wheel too. We just haven't seen it because we're not using elves or dwarves or orcs, but they have a similar like stat. So elves have grief, orcs have hate, and dwarves have greed. And if they reach a certain level, then those characters become retired. In Mouse Guard, it's much more chill. It's like if you go up to 10 with your nature, you're just too much of a mouse, and you just go to live among the mice as like a regular type person, can't be a guard anymore. And if it drops to the other end, it's like you're kind of like the Aragorn thing. You're kind of an outcast. You're like too human to fit into mouse society anymore. In Burning Wheel, if you're an orc and you get to 10 hate, you either kill yourself in a fit of rage or attack the nearest person who kills you.
Oh my God.
Like, you just flip out because you're an orc. You're just like, hate overwhelming. You just tear your own head off. But thankfully, in Mouse Guard, not so much an issue.
Or, yeah, if you're a dwarf and your greed goes too high, you just, like, hide in your house with a pile of money until you starve to death.
Yeah, you build a vault and close
crazy.
yourself in it and suffocate. Yeah. I like how elves are handled, though, because when you get to Grief 10, you're either so sad about the world that you have to, like, leave and go off to Elfland where it's less sad because you're like, humans are wrecking everything, we're out. Or you can choose to convert your grief into spite, and you're like, well, if everything's terrible, I guess I'll just burn it all down. And then you become a dark elf. It's pretty cool.
Damn.
Yeah. So you're adding your nature. You're tapping your nature here. And normally, if you're rolling your nature, it would depend on the failure. But when you're spending a persona point, it just automatically taxes it. So go ahead and roll. You're rolling 8 dice, and I'm rolling 6, and we'll see who gets the most successes. Wallman versus the weather. Take 1. Ooh, a tie.
Ooh.
All right. So on a tie, you can break the tie in your opponent's favor for 2 checks if you have a trait that applies. So let's look at Wallman here. So if you want, you could use your stoicism, your like stoic trait, to see that like a terrible storm is coming and be like, no, it's fine. We're fine.
I say nothing.
I say nothing. Yeah.
Or because you've rolled 3 6s, you could spend a fate point and get 3 free dice and just crush them.
Or you can reroll 3. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'd rather do the latter.
Yeah, totally. As badass as the stoic thing would be, just be like, so Wallman, what does the weather look like? And you're like, fine, it's fine.
It's nothing I can't handle.
Yeah, exactly. Just a silent stare into the looming fucking like dust wall. All right. So roll those 3 6s. And if you get even 1 success, which you did, yeah.
You got even 1 success.
You got even 1 success. Okay, so mark off that you spent a fate point, and tell me how is the weather on the journey ahead? Because you could just be like, it's a horrible storm.
Yeah. So
unseasonable blizzard.
It's actually not like a horrible violent storm that would cause like the crazy flooding that we've already experienced or anything like that. Mm-hmm. But it is a constant, just like persistent drizzle, and like it's cold and also foggy.
Nice. Oh yeah. So when you set out from Elmos, very quickly, all you can see around you is like the road at your feet, your fellow guard mice, and then this thick, cold haze in all directions. Speaking as someone who lives in Vancouver, I know that feel.
Yeah, last night
was that.
Yeah,
it was like
super foggy.
Yeah, exactly. Just like super foggy, and the fog was like cold because it's winter, and like it just like clings to everything. So like your fur, like it just like the whole top layer of your fur just gets covered in like this cold dew. You all have like bits of like probably like icy water sort of like dripping from your whiskers as you head off to Spruce Tuck. But it's not a storm, so you get that going for you.
And is Wallman telling me stories about like weasels hunting mice in the
my god, yeah, like
misty, like dark heather and shit? Was this just like ghost story time?
So have we set out?
Yeah. I think you've like we haven't made the Pathfinder roll, but we can imagine you've left Elmos behind and you're starting to move
we're walking.
I think I'm probably saying stuff more along the lines of like, I gotta say this is some good weather actually. Compared to a lot of the patrols I've been on in my day, things are pretty lucky right now. We couldn't really hope for better, and it's just miserable.
Yeah. I like it. I feel like it's funny because I feel like despite the fact that Jasper and Wallman were both in the same war, the after effects feel like Jasper's a World War II vet, and Wallman was like, "Where the hell were you?" Because I was in Vietnam, and that shit was bad.
Yeah.
You're like, and then we stormed the hill, and we drove off the weasels, and we saved the town, and you're like, yeah, but then everyone I know stepped on a landmine. Like, it's not good. Like, war is bad. Cool. So Jasper, are you just like focused on the mission, or do you notice this like interchange between the two of them?
I think I'm kind of trying to ignore Wallman for the most part, and I'm like just pushing Lorelei along. Like I'm probably like he brushes the water droplets off of her head every once in a while, and
well, I was gonna say, what would keep that water off of her? A cloak.
Do our cloaks have hoods?
Yeah, totally.
Or can
sure.
we just like?
Yeah. It's
We
literally
do
the
our
only
own,
piece
like-
of clothing you wear. So
Badass. Yeah.
Yeah.
God, that would cut such a depressing figure, right? Where the two of you have your like cloak around you, and you're like kind of keeping warm, and Lorelei hasn't earned the right to be warm yet. Like
There's this fat little kid
Yeah.
scampering along behind you, carrying this like larger pack, right? I'm like,
Right.
ugh.
Yeah, so Jasper is like trying his hardest to keep Lorelei in as high spirits as possible, and maybe like emphasizing the fact that the cloak is not only a symbol of how we save our brothers, but also keeps us warm and blah 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 blah.
I love it. Like
Turns into some extended metaphor.
the kind of
Yeah.
awkward drill sergeant metaphor of like, listen, it's not just a
Yeah.
cloak.
Right.
Oh, it's so good.
It's a symbol, but it's also
This is my cloak. There
Something
are
that
others
will
like it, but this one is mine. Okay. All right. Cool. So during all of this like talking and stuff, who's actually like making sure the path is clear and like leading your way to Spruce Tug?
And this was like a short and easy journey.
Mm-hmm. Especially now that the weather has turned and isn't all stormy and shit.
So I mean, Lorelei could be doing it again if y'all are focused on other stuff.
Sure.
It's funny because they're focused on propagandizing you, and you're like, but the mission.
But I'm trying to do the job here.
The mission's straight
Like,
into Weasel territory.
convince you how to do the job and why you're doing it.
Okay.
Cool. So I can make the roll.
All right. So Lorelei, your Pathfinder roll is going to be an op 2 to get you from Elmos to Spruce Tech in this current situation.
Can one or both of y'all provide help?
Yeah, absolutely. I can help with my Pathfinder.
Okay.
Cool.
That makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. Wallman,
Is
are you helping?
Wallman helping out or
No, I'm not interested.
putting the fear of weasels in me?
Yeah. Awesome. Just distracting with your fear mongering. Okay. So obstacle 2. Go ahead and roll it up.
Yeah, I don't think I'll bring in a trait. So let's just hope for a good result on 3 dice. Yeah, it worked.
Yeah, you did it. Okay.
Hope is the best plan.
I believe in you, Lorelei. All right. So yeah, I mean, it's despite the dampness of the trees around here, you do make it to Spruce Tuck in a decent amount of time and without running into any additional, I don't know, weasels or whatever. And when you get to Spruce Tuck, the town is, it emerges from the fog as a series of yellow and orange lights coming from the windows. You've sort of lost time. It's either nighttime or not nighttime, basically. It's either light or not light. And so you come upon Spruce Tuck sort of at the waning of the light of the day. And Spruce Tuck has like a particularly like strong like smell to it that maybe you notice early on. Because this is where they process the material for the scent border, and that stuff harvested from all kinds of like weird berries, and like it's kind of a secret. Like the science mice keep it a secret, but there's all kinds of rumors about what they make it out of. And then I think there's also this like very strong kind of like juniper smell from the like bushes that surround Spruce Tuck. So when you arrive here, you go to the science mouse, like the facility, the place where they make this material, the factory, I guess.
Area 52.
Exactly.
So as we approach Spruce Tuck, Jasper is like really overemphasizing the fact that they made it safely, and Lorelai did such a fantastic job with her pathfinding, and that we're all safe, and that she's improving, and he's so proud, and just like blowing it way out of proportion.
And how do you respond to that, Lorelai?
I feel smothered.
Feel like back away from my embrace.
Oh, shut up, Dad.
Yeah, you're like nice person. I'm like, yeah, okay, thanks, Jasper. Yeah, and then it's
Whatever,
like
Dad.
going, and I just start feeling really uncomfortable,
Okay.
embarrassed, and just like, and then you're like wiping, like you're getting dew out of my whiskers, and I'm just like,
I'm an adult.
Yeah.
much. And so eventually, I just like kind of like get myself ahead, like a few paces.
Yeah.
And like,
I can handle this.
Yeah, like it's fine, it's fine.
Okay, so I think they see you coming. Like the science mice have been waiting, and you're met at the door. Maybe even like there's a little bit of like desperate eagerness to the person that meets you. He introduces himself as Wayland. He's a gray fur. He's got a guard cloak because he earned it. He's just one of those desk guard mice. He doesn't go out on patrol. And he comes to meet you. So he's got his like gray cloak wrapped around his shoulders because it's cold. And he's wearing little like silver like glasses that he has to keep taking off and like rubbing on his cloak to like keep the the mist off them. Yeah, his name's Wayland. And he comes up and he says he looks a little annoyed, like his nose is twitching, and he like says, "You were supposed to be here 3 days ago. Where were you?"
Terribly sorry, sir. Terribly sorry. We just got, held up a little bit. It was quite the storm, crazy storm. But we're here now.
Well, I'm afraid it's too late. And he like looks around and he's like, "Come inside. We need to talk." And he leads you into one of the buildings in this little like facility area. And you end up, we kind of like cut to Wayland's office. And so he's there. There's like a fire going in the hearth. There's a bunch of like a pile of papers on his desk, outlining various like diagrams and like chemical formulae, but in a very like medieval like kind of way, like, add 3 drops of blue humor, and like, it's not like actual science. It's alchemy.
And he has like scroll racks instead of a bookshelf or whatever, right? Like
totally.
It's all like coiled papers and stuff.
Yeah. And you notice that like Wayland looks to be a drinker. There's like several empty bottles of like, I guess mead would be the drink because you have like beehives. Yeah. So like empty mead bottles like on the floor, and like, like dishes that are sort of piled up on one corner of his desk that are holding down some papers. So once he gets you into his office, he like closes the door and he says, "Well, I'll get right to the point. Someone sabotaged the supply, so there's no fluid, which means the scent barrier." He like holds his hands up sort of helplessly. I told Gwendolyn, I said we needed guards this close to the border, and he points, and I think he points at you, Lorelai, and he's like, "Weasels. That's all I'm saying. I don't know how they got in,
I'm just
but
like,
all the barrels have holes in them. It all went," and he like gestures sort of helplessly, like, "It's gone. I mean, I could make more, but we just don't have the materials. And what do we do if a wolf comes by? Huh? What if the weasels drive a wolf right into Spruce Tuck?" And you can see that he's been like building up this like frustration for several days, and is like happy you're here so he can finally like unload it on you.
and I just like look at Jasper and I'm all like wide-eyed, like,
Yeah, basically what he said is the enormous magic wall that protects us from horrifying demons spilling in here and killing everyone we know and love has a big hole in it.
yeah.
The kaiju have broken through the wall. What are we gonna do?
I think Jasper yawns, like
Okay.
kind of involuntarily, just because he's worn out.
Yeah, you're exhausted, right? Like the journey is tiring.
Yeah, and he just kind of like lets out a yawn and then gets right down to business. And he's like, "List ingredients. What do we need? We'll get it."
He kind of like is taken aback. He expected a different reaction. And he says, "Well, I don't have the list with me. It's we keep it locked away in the chests because, God, if we wouldn't want it to be." Yes, yeah, no, I'll have someone fetch it. Yes, we have to make more. It's a fine idea. And so you're going to go out in the woods and gather these things for us. Is that what you're suggesting?
Yes, good man. Go get the recipe for Mouse's sake. No time to lose.
Well, and so what do we do about the barrels then? All the barrels are broken, and we don't have the money to pay for more. And the Cooper, we've had this conversation while we were waiting for you to arrive. She and I, we don't see eye to eye anymore, but she says no free barrels. And I say, well, the scent border, we need them. And she says no, maybe you need to talk to her.
We'll talk to her.
Good, fine.
And it
yes.
sounded like, oh, we can do some business. Like Lorelai kind of is like, okay, she's already like lining up some angles.
So I think he like, while you're talking, Wayland is like digging through a pile of like trash. Like you hear like clattering of like empty bottles, and then he's like, and he like pulls one out and holds it up to the light, and you can see there's like a little bit of meat in the bottom, and he's like pours himself a glass. He like maybe finds a glass and like he finds a glass and like uses the corner of his guard cloak to like rub the inside of it.
Yeah.
And then pours himself a mead, drinks the whole thing in one go, and then he's like sits down at his desk, and he says, "All right. Here's what needs to happen. We need more material. We need to make the fluid, and we need to get more barrels. And I don't care in what order you do these things, but they need to get done. So." He like just gestures like
Side quest.
Go do it.
All right.
So yeah, he's like I'm very busy. I'll start to work on the. You go and deal with these things, and he like maybe like shoves like some papers at one of you, and
I'm sure I end up like carrying them.
yeah, and then just like ushers you all out into the street basically. So you have a list of ingredients that he needs that need to be like, found in the local area. Someone needs to talk to Alessa, who is the Cooper, the town Cooper, and then they're actually gonna like make the material. But if someone wanted to help, that would certainly be valuable. So patrol leader, what's the first task on the list?
I'd say we stick together to complete these things. But Lorelai can take the lead if she would like. But I would like to go with her.
Well, I think it would be best if I talked to the Cooper.
Yeah.
I'd chime in. Just like, here's what.
Yeah, right. So as your boss is like figuring out what to do, you're like, this is what we should do.
Yeah, basically.
Great initiative, Lorelai.
Okay. So Walmond, while they're, like, yeah, let's fix the problem. Here's the problem to solve. The guard is good at solving problems. Does it bother you at all that someone sabotaged the scent border? Like, is that a thing that you're curious about at all? Or are you just like, no, we'll just do this thing and get it over with?
I think it sounds to me like a sort of like, it's obviously a crisis of some kind, but not of like a scale that I've never heard of before. So it's not really that phasing. It's just kind of like, okay, this is a great opportunity for me to needlessly risk my life. Let's get this over with.
Awesome. Okay.
I'm not sure if Lorelai knows what the word sabotage means, so that part of the conversation may have put over my head.
Right. Someone did a bad thing, and we don't know what it is, but it doesn't matter because now we have stuff to do.
The barrels broke. Okay.
Yeah, sabotaged the barrels means noticed that they were broken. Okay. Okay, so I guess that means then that you're sticking together. So what's the first thing to do? Are you going to go and get Olessa to fork over some more barrels, or?
Yeah, because we need something to put the ingredients into.
Yeah, the
Create.
finished material. They need to replace the fluid, and to do that, they can make it, but they can't store it or transport it, and the border is quite long, so they need barrels to do that.
Yeah. Um. So we have that like recipe list now. Does it say anything about how long it takes to create this
I don't
potion?
think so, because I mean, y'all don't have
They don't want
nobody.
to give away the secret of it, right?
Does
So
anybody have scientists? Nobody has any points in science.
No.
Okay, all right. So yeah, you don't know. It's just nerd stuff.
Yeah.
But if you have survivalist, anyone with survivalist can look at the list and figure out how long it might take to like gather the things that are required.
I have not.
You figure like if you, because somebody has survivalist. Wallman, you do, right?
Yeah, I have it.
Okay.
I do too.
Okay, yeah. So the two of you, I mean, you figure it shouldn't take too long, provided like it's all kind of in season, like the berries that they require. It's basically just like fundamental material. It shouldn't be too hard, but it would require you going like off the beaten track and kind of like going out into, into the wild to gather.
Yeah. I think it makes more sense to have someone like actively making barrels while we're collecting stuff.
Okay.
So, yeah. Barrel time.
All right, so let's do that first. So Lorelai, it sounds like it's time to business mouse this thing.
hmm
It's Business Mouse.
So we go into like I'm sure she has like a shop or something, right?
Mm-hmm. A cooperage.
Yeah, so I guess
in
we go
fact.
there.
Yeah, so there's this busy cooperage. There's several mice, treating like wooden planks to bend them into the shape of barrels. Hammering the barrels together, that kind of thing. There's a busy like woodworking shop. And when you first come in, I don't think anybody really notices or pays any attention to you. Everybody's all like busy doing jobs.
hmm So I kind of like look at Jasper. I'm just like, which one? Do you know which one is Olessa?
I just clear my throat loudly. I'm like,
Yeah. Yeah, we just kind of enter the room and we're like, hello!
Okay. Yeah, I think a worker like stops. And he's carrying like a bunch of planks. He stops and looks up at you, and he's got like sawdust in his fur. And he looks at you, Wellman. He's like, do you need something, guard mouse?
yes, we actually need some materials from you for attracting weasels or repelling weasels.
I'm sure I don't know anything about that, but let me fetch Alessa for you. 1 second, and he scurries off. And after a few minutes, a very kind of noble-looking, like she carries herself. Like I think Lorelai, you're familiar with this kind of person. She's like a merchant. She knows her stuff. This woman, this mouse comes out, and I think she has like a silk scarf like tied around her neck. She's carrying like a ledger with her. She comes out and walks up to you, and she says, "If Waylon sent you, I'll tell you what I told him. That unless I see some coin on the table, you can't just have these barrels for free. I work hard, and I need to feed these people." She like gestures to all the like workers. "And I understand that you have important work to do, but so do I." So it's like folds her little hands or little paws over her chest.
I'm just like, well, thank you for your time. And I turn around and start walking out.
I start to say something like in a very animated voice, but then I like stop myself and put my hand on Lorelai's shoulder and just sort of push her forward.
I'm like, well, that's not a very helpful attitude, is it?
She kind of scowls at you, and she's like, I'm sorry.
I mean, have you heard about? You know what's in the Dark Heather. And I have this look. Like,
Right. She kind of like scoffs, and she's like, "You guard mice and your weasel stories. I've never even seen a weasel. I don't think they even exist anymore. We drove them back years ago. They're nothing to worry about. Now we need to worry about building things, the economy." And she like gestures to her like factory. She's like, "This is where we should be concentrating. Not
and
on
I kind of look at Walmond and see how he's reacting to all this.
Not on some scary story about weasels in the night. Senseless."
And I look at Walmond like, those stories were lies?
So I've since I like walked back, I'm sort of hanging in the doorway, looking back now. And after she says that, I'm like, Lorelai, she's right. And I mean, honestly, even if there are weasels out there, I mean, would it really be such a big deal if they came through the wall? I mean, maybe they can help us out. Who knows?
Jasper can't take it anymore, and he's like, "Oh, okay, all right, ma'am, you've never seen weasels or any other beasts for that matter, because the guard protects that border and keeps you safe."
Yeah, I think she's like got her nose all like wrinkled
And
up.
now there's a breach in that wall. So unless you'd like to see them now, we need some barrels.
This sounds like extortion to me. You just want to take my barrels away for free so you can repair this wall, this imaginary wall somewhere out there. So that what, the boogeyman doesn't come and get us in the night?
Yes.
Why would I
Many large boogeymen.
your barrels? Why would I do this if it wasn't important? You think I want to trek across the whole territory and almost die out there in a storm so that I can come here and take your barrels? You think you're important? You think you're important? I've never even heard of you. Who are you?
I love Lorelai's like
Lorelai just had it. She's just like, you know what? This is crazy. Like, we're out on this. And she like turns to Jasper like, this mission is crazy. Why are we out here? These people don't even, we shouldn't be helping these people.
like we
People
should
are ungrateful.
just let the weasels have Spruce Tuck. Fuck
Yeah, like
it.
they can eat her. I don't care. I want to go back to Lockhaven. Like yeah, like Lorelai is
like,
losing it.
I started like slow clapping a little bit, and but looking at Lorelai sort of sternly, and I'm like, you're onto something there, Lorelai, but I'm not sure you should be directing your anger at this businesswoman. Who is it that put you out here to risk your life for the sake of fixing a wall that requires you to strong arm a local business?
There's some very intense medieval politics stuff going on here.
Yeah.
I like it. You're like, yeah, but what about the middle class? Are they not entitled to the sweat of their brow?
And so I turn back to, sorry, what was the barrel Cooper's name? Alessa. I turn back to Alessa again, and I'm just like, look, if you want to be, if you want to just be useless out here in your little tiny cooperage that no one's ever heard of and no one will miss, fine, we'll go somewhere else. We'll buy someone else's barrels. Or maybe we'll just let this town get killed by weasels. Who knows? Anything could happen.
I think she kind of scowls at you. She's like, well, let's not be hasty. No one said anything about you. There's nowhere else to buy barrels. This is it. If you want real, proper barrels, then my cooperage is the only place in town. But I mean,
maybe we'll use jars. We used jars for that honey, right? And I turned to Jasper like, and that worked out just fine.
Yes, jars. Jars are wonderful for that.
She
purpose.
scoffs. She's like, jars. Everyone thinks jars are so great. Listen, for my money, storing fluids, you need a nice sealed barrel. Ask anyone.
Oh,
So I would love to see your barrels. And like I've just like flipped the script immediately. As soon as she cracks even a little, I'm just like, well, I would love to see her barrels, and let's have a little.
All right. So you're gonna try and
like,
persuade her to like give you some sample barrels. Okay. All right.
Yeah, and because like we need to mostly like. So the impression I got was that the barrels were damaged.
Yeah. Yeah.
Completely destroyed.
Correct.
So maybe if we just like, get some samples or something, we can like patch up the barrels we have and kind of make something work. Or just like convince her to like warranty her existing barrels or something like that. That's kind of what I'm going to go for, I think.
Yeah.
Is that while we're looking at these nice barrels, I'm like, okay, but the barrels that we saw, they failed in this way, and like we're kind of like pursuing a warranty, and that this is about like her brand and like
yeah.
All right.
I think that's a good angle for us to push here.
I love like it really feels like the two of you, like Walmond and Lorelei, could very easily get into a point where you're like, let's just establish this whole bourgeoisie thing, and the merchant class is the real class here.
Yeah, and then the market will take care of the weasels. We'll just the free market economy after going with the weasels, and it'll be all good.
The weasels will just go away. Yeah. Okay. Wow. What we need is a private police force. We need to privatize the mouse guard.
Yeah, we need PSAC out here.
Make the mouse guard a PMC. So make it sounds like you're haggling. This sounds like a haggle to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I think ultimately our angle is to try to like warranty the barrels.
Yeah, sure.
Because like she made them and someone was able to like break them or they broke.
Right. So you're changing the conversation where like Wayland probably came to her and was like, give me more barrels. And she was like, okay, pay me. And he was like, no. And you're like, yeah, but how about these ones? They broke real easy.
Yeah. And I'm like, oh, well, these barrels are like, you clearly like care a lot about your stuff. And like, these barrels are great. So as we're like touring her little cooperage, I'm just like, oh, well, like, people would know about your brand if this was like the official blah blah blah, and it's like,
right,
like, people will hear about this, and like you should think about what if they hear that your barrels like are crap and don't work and all this kind of
thing. Yeah. Well, and this kind of thing is like actually like an undertone in the material too, like in the canon, in the comics, the sort of like suspicion of the guard and how the guard is like, no, they're the nice watch, basically. They're like, look, we need money and people and swords and stuff. And a lot of people are like, yeah, weasels, maybe they're not real. Maybe you're crazy.
Yeah.
I live in Ironwood. They'll never come this far.
Exactly.
Lots of that, right?
Yeah, look, if you don't like living in Barkstone, you should just move to Shaleborough. It's much safer. All right, so you're going to roll a versus haggler test. How many dice do you have in haggle?
I have 2.
Okay. So she's a better haggler than you are by nature, but you also have help potentially, and and you have the advantage of traits or persona or whatever. Yeah. So, what do you want to do? You want to do anything to add to your pool?
Do I get to know any information before I make these decisions about like how many dice she's rolling?
Oh yeah. I'm rolling 4.
4 dice. Yeah. Okay. Am I getting any help?
I don't know.
Yeah.
So for haggler on its own, helping tests or helping skills can be persuader, deceiver, or any appropriate wise.
I have persuade.
Yeah, so you're gonna help with persuader.
And like from the fiction so far, it seems like Jasper is trying to be like, now look, we need to like, make things happen, and you need to help out. So we are putting some pressure on that way.
Again, doing the World War II thing where you like show up at a factory and you're like, we need your, I don't know, rubber to make boots
widgets
for our soldiers. Yeah.
And then is Walmond going to help out, or is he?
I think I am, if I can help out with piecewise by making this deal sort of peaceable.
No, yeah, definitely.
It's like we're in times of peace now, but like what if things change, and like this is how you maintain peace.
Yeah. Like I'm not very supportive of what we're doing, but I also kind of am.
Like all the scent border stuff is actually really in line, I feel like, with Wallman's perspective, right? Like that would probably be the one thing the guard does that he actually values.
Yeah,
That's about
absolutely.
keeping everything,
Because it's a peaceable defense.
winning.
It keeps
Yeah,
the animals.
it's not
out.
starting a war with the weasels. It's just
Yeah.
Like Wallman is cool with what our real our like surface mission is, and then is totally not cool with what our secret mission is.
exactly.
Yeah. Well, because the secret mission is framed by Gwendolyn as being like, we want to reclaim lost territory. We have to make up what we lost in the war. But there's also the flip side of it of being like, yeah, we need to just colonialize some of the Dark Heather. Like we need to just take away their land.
Yeah, I'm having none of that.
Yeah.
And I'm not even happy about the fact that the guard is imposing upon, like, why we weren't at the very least like offering money to this woman,
Right?
or
no,
like,
because you're the guard, you just get to tell them what you
for
want
this purpose. Like if we're really doing like something for anyway, yeah, that's basically it. But I want the wall to exist and be fixed. So
Okay, cool. So I've got help from both of them, which brings me up to 4 days. And then it's just straight.
It's a tie. All right, let's do it.
So maybe I'll add in my impetuous trait, which I feel like I kind of played in that last scene where I was just like very like overconfident, forward, whatever. But
Yeah,
like,
you're using it. You're using it for yourself.
Like a very bold negotiator, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And like willing to say inflammatory things to make this deal work, right? Like,
Yeah.
okay, so I'm rolling 5 dice, and then hopefully I get some 6s and can use 3.
Okay, so here we go. We're tied.
Oh, and you
2.
rolled a 6, but I didn't.
That's right. So to break the tie, you can use a trait to break it for me and get 2 checks. Or you can...
Or we can roll again using
I
will.
think we roll again using will. Let me double check. Break a tie in your favor once tied rolls on the table. I think that's how it works. I think it's the same as it was before.
And if I break the tie in your favor, we could still get the barrels. But
Yes, but I'll throw a condition at all 3 of you.
Or whatever.
Yeah, so the way it works is either you don't get the barrels and there's a twist and I introduce something else.
Right.
Or in this case I'll probably give you the barrels, but conditions, like angry.
Well, if it goes to will, I have a will of 2. So I'm very bad at doing things willfully. So maybe we'll just let's just take the hit.
Because you'll get the 2 checks. All right, so what
I'll break the tie.
What trait do you use to break the tie in Alessa's favor?
Compassionate. So like we're trying to like make this deal and it's like really disfavorable to her. And so ultimately I kind of like capitulate more than I should because I start to see in her like a lot of stuff that I saw in my mother who I really respected as being like this, businesswoman, right?
Right. Your bourgeoisie pride, you're just like, no, I get it. We're taking away your products.
Yeah, like you work, this is your livelihood.
Well, and it's just like Wallman said, and maybe like something Wallman said reminds you of that, where you're like, oh wait, we're totally swindling this woman. Like we're making her do work for nothing.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So you get your 2 checks, which is nice. That'll help. And I'm gonna give you, Lorelei. I'm gonna give you tired. I think that it's like it just wears on you that you're like, wait, we're doing these things that I don't feel like that good about.
Yeah, like I do the thing and then after the fact it kind of sets in and I feel really like crummy about it. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Wallman, I'm gonna give you angry.
Okay.
I mean, seems like it makes sense.
Pretty clear.
Actually, I'm gonna give both Wallman and Jasper angry, but for different reasons. Like Jasper, I think you're probably. I mean, this is up to you, obviously, but I think Jasper's probably mad because Alessa wasn't just like, well, the guard needs it. Aye, here's some barrels.
Yeah.
Why did we have to go through all that?
Right, and Wallman is like, why did we do this? Like, we just made her like it's gonna set her back. Like, she's gonna have a harder time when winter comes because of you.
Jasper's just irritated because she wasn't like blindly supportive and like willing to help people at any cost. Because
has she not been reading the propaganda?
You're gonna have a stern conversation with Gwendolyn about how maybe we need to change where the scent border is, and Spruce Tuck.
We're gonna make it loop in like this.
Yeah, it's fine.
Sad.
Yeah, Spruce Tuck is a sacrifice we're willing to make. It'll show Dorigift and Elmos. They really need to shape up.
Yeah, and then if we see, this is the thing, right? We can go in here and get this. We just need to do this.
Right, it's a trade. I could very easily see some like twisted version of this game taking on a kind of like Warhammer 40k-esque like, yeah, we just need to perform Exterminatus on Spruce Tuck. It's full of heretics. It's fine. All right.
You just need to glass the Dark Heather from orbit.
Exactly. So you did manage eventually like to coerce Alessa into repairing the barrels at the cost of several days of labor, which slows down her like barrel making, which means everything just slows down for her. And so you end up feeling a little crappy about it, but you're back in business in that regard. So now you just need to gather up the material for the scent fluid itself.
Cool.
So how's that going to happen? You should be able to collect. Basically, it's like a bunch of berries and like some stuff. There's one of the things on the list is like wolf urine that you need to collect. That's the dangerous one.
Oh, God.
But everything else should be fairly easy. It'll be a survivalist test, whoever ends up taking it on.
So maybe the wolf urine is something we actually need to like go into the Dark Heather to get or something like that, or...
Yeah, I mean, maybe.
Yeah.
Or at least closer to the border.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyone sell that? Any chance?
Can we make synthetic wolf urine?
Yeah. Just go on Amazon Prime.
No,
they call it the spice.
Listen, you gotta go on the darknet for that shit.
Yeah, some deep web shit.
So, who will lead this quest for materials?
I mean, I guess I'll do it. Like, if
survivalist for.
I would expect Jasper to be like jumping at this.
Yeah, I'll help with laborer.
Yeah.
Well, I'm trying to get you guys to participate, though. Like, I want.
I'm helping. I'm participating. You should...
I have survivalist 4, so I could do it.
Yeah, totally.
Okay.
This is like emergency measures time. This is not teach people time, right?
Yeah, totally. All right, so you're gonna take the lead, Jasper, and be like, just do what I do. I'm not gonna tell you how to do this one. Anybody want to help?
Yeah, so I'll pitch in with laborer. So like I imagine that you're like, okay, we need like these berries and stuff, and like Lorelei's doing a lot of the stuff where it's just like grunt work and it just takes time. And,
yeah,
like,
Jasper is like pointing at the bush and being like, bark off of all of that, and then those berries, and then
so I'm like chewing the bark off of stuff and like carrying it around and like lugging big sacks of berries. And...
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, and then Almond, what about you?
Yeah, I'll help. I could help with Hunter maybe to find the wolf urine.
Oh
yeah, for real. Hunter is definitely a one to help. So, I mean, the fact that we're even talking about wolf anything, if you fail this test, the twist that I include could very easily be very bad for you. So you're gonna want to fill up on this one. It's an Ob 3. It's an Ob 3 survivalist test, so it shouldn't be too hard.
Okay, so wait, I have 4, 5, 6.
It's 6 days?
Yeah, you're 4 plus 2 from help.
And then can I add like Dark Heather wise or something?
No, not yet, because you're not in the Dark Heather, and this isn't related to the Dark Heather. But don't worry.
Oh, okay.
We still got an hour to go.
There's no forking in Mousegard either. So
Okay.
the wise would be you can use the wise to help other people with no risk, right? Is what the wises are for.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good point.
There's no forking around in mouse
There
guard.
you go. Nice work. Okay, so we get a little montage. We get the gathering montage of like chewing the bark, and then like somebody like scooping up wolf pee from like no shit like a small lake of it, because like
Yeah.
Or there's like it's like a marsh, right? It's
Yeah.
like because it soaks into the ground, and so they like,
you all have little mouse gas masks on.
yeah, like you put your cloak over your face, and you're like
scooping
it into like an acorn husk.
wolf pee into a jar.
We have to get the sample, take back to the lab.
Awesome. All right.
That's crazy though. It's like basilisk, moltings or something, right? Like this is some super dangerous.
Well, it's just like it's a weird thing. It's a weird thing to think about, because it's like, this barrier, like it's a non-physical barrier. You literally just pour the material on the ground, and it convinces wolves and foxes and other predators like, don't go here. It's like a bad place.
There is something bigger and scarier than you already living there.
Yeah. All right, so you gather the materials and you return them to the now barrel accoutered facility, and I think that Wayland, like while you're turning over the material, maybe you have a wagon that you're unloading. Wayland tells you, I guess Jasper, because you're the patrol leader. He takes you aside and says, just between you and I'm starting to think it wasn't weasels after all. We didn't see any tracks. Nobody spotted them, and we're still quite a ways from the Dark Heather. No, I think mice did this. And he like seriously like looks at you over his glasses. He's like,
am I in earshot?
You could be if you want to. Sure. I mean, you're
Cool,
kind of nosy.
My opinion.
All right.
Like, that's crazy. Why would mice do anything like this? This is totally against their interests.
And he like, he turns because he's a little offended you were like eavesdropping.
And then when he turns and looks at me, I'm like, also, how do we know the barrels didn't just break? And then I like head nod over at the bottles of mead and stuff. I'm like, were you awake watching the whole time?
He says to Jasper, he doesn't think to like even respond to you directly. Wayland says, tell your tenderpaw, who obviously doesn't understand these things, that maybe they should spend more time in the library at Lockhaven. Those barrels were damaged by tools. Mouse-made tools. Now, this was no random damage, not the crazed assault of some weasel. And as to why, he like folds his arms and like looks at you. Well, I'm sure I don't know. It certainly sounds like suicide to me, but as I'm sure you learned, not everyone in Spruce Tuck thinks that the scent border even exists. That Alessa, for example. All I'm saying is, maybe you should look into it. And like, this guy's a member of the guard. Maybe like looking into it would be part of his job description too.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe Lorelai like can't help but butt in with like, well, what are you gonna do while we're doing all this? And I like look at the pile of bottles again, like, and the plates and stuff. Like, you could at least clean up after yourself. You have all this time.
He looks to you, Jasper, to like blame you for your impertinent, like, your tenderpaw, and says, it wasn't like this when I came up in Lockhaven. When I was a tenderpaw, no, we learned discipline, respect. That's why the cloak means something, or it used to. He like scowls. It's like, Anyway, if you don't want another war or a wolf wandering in here, not only fix that border, but you should start asking around town. I think some of these mice have something to hide.
Yes, it's high time we had an inquisition.
One, you respect my tender paw.
And I like...
You're like, ha!
Wearing the cloak means you're in the guard. All the guard is equal, and you are forgetting your place, sir. You have not been doing your job. And I'm like, no.
Yeah.
You have not been protecting this border the way you should have. You've been slacking off and God knows what, and drinking all the time, and I'm just like going nuts, and my whiskers are all like flayed, and I'm like,
okay.
Why did you pay attention?
All right, so you want to give Wayland a dressing down?
Yeah, I want to give him
adjust his opinion. Okay. All right, Jasper.
This is so good.
Roll your orator. Roll your orator skill.
Okay.
Can I help?
Yes, definitely.
I want to help with the persuader. I think
Cool.
seems fair. Or just my judgy look.
Yeah. Wallman, what are you doing while all this is happening?
I mean, I don't think I get involved in this. It's like interesting to me. It's like kind of a fascinating exchange,
Right.
because there's someone who's like not, like clearly not upholding their duties of the guard, but at the same time, like implying that the guard needs to do stuff about this stuff.
Yeah.
So like, I'm just like watching it go down. And I don't think I'm helping with the role.
Okay.
Well, it's like, I'm glad we're berating someone in the guard, but also I feel awkward about what we're berating them about.
Yeah, like I'm not convinced of the motivation of this person to not do their job with the guard or in any way in line with mine. Like they just sound like they're kind of lazy and shifting blame and stuff like that.
Okay, cool. So
You're gonna
for
fuck up, do it for good reason.
let's see. So for orator, let me look at the obstacles. 250. All right. Element OP. There we go. So for orator, it's a versus test against will. Okay. All right. So his will is we'll say 4.
Okay. So I'm up to 3 now. So what can I do?
Do you have any wises that you want to use? Or I mean traits. Sorry, traits that you want to use. So like let's.
I mean, guard's honor.
Yeah. Right. You're telling this guy. I mean, defender also, because you're talking about defending the all mice everywhere.
Right. That too.
God, I love the like looking at your character just from a statistics perspective. Like we've talked about Jasper as being this kind of war hero and stuff, and so things like guard's honor and defender are great. And then we're like, yeah, no, you're foolish. You're a fool. That's on your sheet. You have that trait. That's awesome. All right, but yeah, guard's honor is perfect for this, so you can use it for and give yourself an extra die.
All right. This is gonna be extremely close.
All right, let's do it.
Yeah.
I got 1. You beat me. Good job.
Yay!
All right. So Wayland, maybe he hasn't seen a real like guard mouse in a long time. Maybe all he does is, science stuff. He just pushes papers. Maybe he used to be a brave mouse of the guard, but it's been a long time since those days. And I think that you being here and like giving him shit basically and getting so much done, he kind of like comes around. He's like, maybe he's realizing that he's sort of like not doing his duty so much. And you definitely have had an impact on this guy.
Yeah, well, while I'm sassing him, I'm also like throwing my cloak back and being like, the guard is supposed to be blah blah blah.
Right. And Wallman is just staring at you in the background.
Like yelling at him, but also like kind of trying to inspire him a little bit.
Yeah. Well, it's the drill instructor thing, right? Where it's like, yes, I'm yelling at you. I want you to feel bad, but also feel inspired by how great I am trying to make you feel by making you feel bad.
I want you to feel bad about how you're not great yet.
Exactly.
But that you should be.
You might be a maggot now, but you shan't be a maggot forever, have I my way.
Yes.
All right. So we'll cut ahead a couple of days to when the material is ready. Y'all have your wagon loaded with the scent border fluid, and you'll head out for Ferndale after we take our last break.
Sweet.
All right. So let's go and we'll go and see what's up in Ferndale when we get back. Stick around. More Mouse Guard after this.